Yo, what's up? I just wanted to share some information on this Friday, sunny Friday. So, I have a client right now who has some pretty bad low back problems. I think he has slip disc in L4 and L5. And what I noticed with him is that his right leg is severely externally rotated and he has a collapsed arch. So, a little bit of my own history. When I was probably from the age of 18 to 22, I was in the gym 6 days a week, lifting heavy ass weights improperly, being a bro. But anyways, I had a lot of low back problems, and what I noticed was I actually had the exact same issue. So just pull this up, my right leg was really externally rotated, and then in order to maintain stability, what would happen is the arch would collapse so that I would have stability on this side of the foot. So if you notice this pattern with yourself, there's a few things you can do. One is increase the strength of your internal rotators, and I'm going to show a few exercises in a bit to show you how to do that with some bands. Increase the flexibility in your Achilles, as well as just your ankle mobility in general, your ability to dorsiflex your foot. That's where your foot dorsiflexes, comes up. And loosen your external rotators. So usually if your foot is kind of like naturally ducked out, you're going to have really tight glutes. So you can foam roll that, stretch that, and a few other things. One last thing is, this really relates to the squat and your ability to squat functionally and to squat more weight. So what I've been doing naturally to compensate for my lack of internal rotation is I've been spreading my feet and angling them more outwards. So let's say you walk like this. I'm squatting with a really high angle, 30 degrees or more, and what I believe that does is prevents the stress that I experience because of my lack of internal rotation, but it also reduces the amount of torque I can generate from my hips. So I'm going to play around today with a bit wider stance, but feet more forward, and see how that goes. Peace. So this is my ghetto version of a hip circle. It's just a band, and the idea is it forces your knees into a valgus position. That means like your knees collapse medially, and it really forces your hips to externally rotate and resist that valgus position. So it's really good for keeping your knees out on the squat if you tend to have your knees collapse medially. This is just an exercise to strengthen your internal rotators of the hip. So here I'm showing a dorsiflexion stretch for the ankle, and how I still maintain an arch so that I can push the pen underneath the middle of my foot and still have some space there, and my heels down. My issue lies in my right foot and my right hip. So what I'll show in a second is that I have a tendency for that arch to collapse. You can see right there. And there's a lot less flexibility in this ankle. The heel tends to come off the ground. So I'm trying to restore the flexibility and the mobility in that ankle. This is another way to gain some internal rotation in your hip. Basically, you pull your knees together and you try to spread your feet, and you sit back onto your butt. And it creates a good stretch for your to increase internal rotation. It's just rolling the old calves out. Another way to try to increase dorsiflexion of your ankles is to reduce the tone in your calves and kind of get a little bit more mobility there. This is an interesting glute stretch. So your glutes are
external rotators, and if you have a lack of internal rotation on your hip, they tend to be quite tight. So if you cross one leg over the other, it really focuses on targeting those glutes, and it's so painful, as you can see on my face. Finally, here's my new squat form. So feet are a little bit more forward, quite wide apart. The more internal rotation allows for this, and it looks like I'm hitting depth pretty good. Just testing out with 135, 205, and 225. Coming along.